All right, welcome in to the Bobby Carpenter Show, and I got my guy, Mr. Anthony Schlegel here, who apparently just found out Schlegel is on someone else's computer, which we'll get into. You left it at home. I just finished a nice little workout here, got a little lather going. Like, it's pretty hot. So you walk back from the gym, you're sweating even more than maybe you were before. Very excited to be on here with you today. We had some breaking news for the first time yesterday in show history, so very excited to be able to talk about Matt Patricia and him being defensive coordinator. A couple of different things I want to kind of segment out and take a look at today. And our housekeepers did an elite job. I walked in here, I was like, man, you got 5 minutes. If whatever's done's done, don't worry about it. If it's not, it's the first service I've had, because I've usually been in and out when they've been coming. I mean, it's just me in here, for heaven's sake. What do I need? You can use the same towel. There's two towels.
Do you make your bed when you leave in the morning, Bob? Do you throw it over, or you just leave it out?
That's an interesting question. Sometimes I do. Since I've been here, I have not. I have a bad habit. I don't really make my bed because it's only 3 to 4 times a month, and I'm not the first person out. So it's kind of fruitless to make your bed with someone else in it.
That's a great point.
So I rarely am I ever not the first out of bed. So yeah, that's something I leave it to my wife, and it gets made some of the time. If not, if you don't want to make the bed, folks, moral of the story, be the first out of the bed, and then you can always abdicate that responsibility onto another human. So you got that going for you. But yeah, we've got a lot of big news today on the defensive side of the ball. Ryan Day finally rounding out his whole coaching tree, or his coaching staff, and what he's going to do with it. And so I think we should break this down in steps, Schlegs, as we kind of look at this and kind of figure all that out. We talked yesterday, the breaking news, Matt Patricia, defensive coordinator. We've had a little bit of time to think about it. I've had a little bit of time to gauge and weigh the response. I would say a mixed bag. Some people were very optimistic. Some people were neutral on it. There were some people that did not like the hire at all. And I got on social media, Schlegs. I got in there, got down.
Listen, I saw some of it too, Bob. I saw some of the stuff that you were.
I got down into the scrum. People were like, "Oh, he couldn't even get a job in the NFL before. Why would we hire him?" Like, Chip Kelly couldn't get a job either. He was trying to get to the NFL, and no one would hire him as a coordinator. And amazingly, now he's the highest paid coordinator in the NFL. So,
but he went to college.
Yeah, I went to college, but the point was, like, I don't want a guy that I don't necessarily need a guy that's highly coveted, or he's not even getting interviews by this, or he's not that, or this, all these things. And so here are the different arguments. Number one, everyone pointed out, look how bad he was in Detroit. Said, okay, Ryan Day isn't hiring him to be the head coach. He's hiring him to be the defensive coordinator. Matt Patricia, that was his first time being a head coach. I think some of the guys who left the Bill tree tried to be, and you played for one of them, Slake. So I'm
genius.
Yeah, I'm curious to get your perspective on it, because Mangini, very smart. It probably wasn't his football aptitude that was the issue. It was the way he tried to run things and tried to do it a little too much like Bill. And so I'm like, listen, it was his first job. Yeah. And by the way, you look at some people like Vic Fangio, not a great head coach, really good coordinator. You look at Steve Spagnuolo, who I was with briefly in St. Louis. James was with a lot. Walt coached with him. Not a great head coach. Has won 5 Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator, one of the best defensive coordinators of all time. Wade Phillips, not a great head coach. Tremendous defensive coordinator. And so, like, there's different skill sets, and some guys can grow into it after a while, and on their second or stop, they might be better. Some guys are maybe just better as a coordinator, and that's okay. That's all right. Like, we don't need to worry about that with everything. And, so I was like, okay, that's number one. And then, like, well, he wasn't desirable. Okay, well, why wasn't he getting interviews by this guy and by that guy? I go, very seldomly, and you know this, Schlegs. Actually, you touch on the stuff with head coach versus assistant.
All right, let me
maybe Belichick guys diving into maybe too much of Belichick when that's not who they are.
Right. And so let's go to the maturation of a coach. You see Urban, right? So Tom Urban leaves, goes to Houston, then goes to Texas, right? Ryan Day steps in. Urban Meyer, very different than a lot of people, right? And Eric Mangini, Matt Patricia, McDaniels, other stops, And, you see how it goes to where when you have somebody that has had a high level success, look at Bill Belichick. Wasn't he the head football coach for the Cleveland Browns, Bob, before he went to New England?
Yeah.
So, you're not necessarily ready-made when you go in there. And honestly, that's why you and I talked about, Ryan and with Kirby in that 6-year window. Like, it takes time as you develop in this role of being a head football coach. And more importantly than the X's and O's and the schemes and even the players, it's how do you manage it and what resources do you need around you for you to be the best version of you as the head football coach. And where I think initially you go in, and this did not happen for Ryan, because I think Ryan has been, like, from the very beginning, authentically Ryan. But a lot of times when you leave a program, a franchise with a lot of success, you try to carry over some of those things that might not necessarily be authentically you. And that's where you run into problems, especially in the NFL when you're dealing with grown-ass men, 22 to 35 years old, who can sit through some BS. And when you go and you are very, very demanding, which they do want, but you might tilt over into a world where you haven't had the success yet, like you're building it, but then you couple that with a GM who's also bringing in those players that might not embody what you necessarily need. When the place you left, the guy who was running it had complete autonomy to bring those type of people in that allowed for that success to happen, looks very different. How do you adapt? And when you never had the experience of being in that room to be able to adapt, that's where things go sideways. And so I think you learn, you grow. I think this hire, more importantly, is what Ryan was looking for, of sharpening the sword that is Ohio State football more than anything. We'll dive into that later, but I want to hear your next point because it's a very good point that you're going to make, Bob.
So here's the other. I should have thought about this earlier. So I got Pat working on something right now, and let me know, Pat, when you're able to get this, because it kind of popped in my head, because there was people saying he's not coveted. How many other interviews did he have? And they're like, well, Spags got hired right away, went right back. And then who else was Robert Saleh with the Jets. He got hired right away. And I go, yeah, by their former head coaches, by the guys that they worked for.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I'm like, that's why they had those jobs. It was available. And they said, hey, let's go. I can go back here, be in a comfortable situation, and things can work. And so that's something, I'm surprised no one pushed back on Spags. Like, I don't know if he was with him in Kansas City before, but he was with him in Philadelphia. That's where Spags got his start, was with Andy Reid in Philadelphia before going to the Giants and going there. So they had a prior relationship. And this, Schlags, very little of coaching getting jobs has to do with aptitude. It more has to do with relationships.
Yes.
And so I don't need somebody that's coveted by everyone, that's taken a million interviews. You ever seen the movie Shallow Hal, Schlags?
I have, yes.
Yeah, Shallow Hal. Throw that up, Pat. So in the premise of the movie, Shallow Hal, portrayed by Jack Black, he sees people, ultimately he's been given a gift where he sees them, Schlags, for their inner beauty. And so maybe they fell out of shape. Maybe they're a little homely looking, but Hal thinks they're beautiful because they're good people. I don't need my coordinator to be wanted by everybody. So I don't necessarily need someone that's going to be coveted by everyone, Schlags. I need them to be intelligent, have an aptitude for the game, and more importantly, as you know, the fit. Do they fit well with what we're doing and what we're trying to bring in?
Yeah.
And like I mentioned, there is some, and by the way, we've got a couple other Buckeyes who were Patriots who we know about, who played for Matty P and can sit there and talk about how good he was and everything else. So,
and the guys you're referring to are like a Nate Ebner, a 3-time Super Bowl champion, John Simon, guys that you and I highly respect with a high football acumen that played in the NFL, guys, for 10 years.
Oh yeah, they're really good. And so I get it with everything that's going on. People may be a little worried. I'm like, this isn't speculation on my part. I was there for a year because someone goes, I worry about the Andy Reid effect with Bieniemy. I go, Bill lets his defensive coordinators call the plays. Like these guys, he doesn't micromanage that. Like those guys actually call it. So like that's not the same thing. Andy Reid was always calling plays when Bieniemy was there. I go, these guys actually called it. And I'm like, Nate and John Simon could sit there and confer it with me. I watched it, but just don't take my word for it. Schlegs, we got some other dudes that we could talk about and bring in. So we don't need a coach that's coveted by everybody else.
And I'm going to say this too, Bob. So, and we broke it on here, which is great the first time, but you already said it. The reason why he didn't go with Bill is because Bill brought his son. And let's go back. Like, why would a Bill Belichick want to get back into college football? One, I think he wants to be able to flip the script and see what he can do. It's a challenge for himself. He's young at heart. He's dating a 26-year-old, for heaven's sake. So, I mean, like,
24,
he's 24. She's feeling good.
Age her up.
He's feeling good. But his son is the D coordinator. That's why you don't go to North Carolina. His son's going like that. Honestly, you want an ultimate plan for Bill Belichick? Hey, we're going to go make a 3-year run. We're going to flip the script at UNC, and guess who's going to be the next head football coach? My son. That's how it's going to work. So that being said, Bob, to your point about the fits, like I got hired. I'll speak honestly. Like I had no head strength coaching experience. I knew Urban Meyer. I knew exactly what Urban Meyer wanted to do from a sports performance model, which was very, very different, and how you bring all those pieces to the table to be able to have that model where the athlete is first. And everybody in there, from nutrition to athletic training to sports performance, physical therapy, equipment, is all about the players. And the number one thing
all
is
about the team, Schlegs.
Well, it's all about the team, but the team is made up of what? The players, right? So, how do you allow them to be set up for success? And that's what it all was. And I knew that I could deliver upon that, and he trusted me to do so. So it wasn't necessarily about it, but that goes back to the relationship piece and the trust piece. Now, I think this piece with Matt Patricia is you have a guy in Ryan Day who now going into his 7th year has evolved. And as you evolve, great leaders want to continue to do what, Bob? They want to be sharpened, right? And we already talked about the different nuances of the NFL game and the college game. It's just different. It's different because of situational football. It's different because of how do I attack weaknesses, and how do I utilize the people in my building to set me up for success. But Ryan also knows, along with everybody that's in that building that does recruiting, you have the best recruiters out there already on your staff. It's proven. They've been doing a phenomenal job. You have Mark Pantoni, the best GM in college football. You already have a sound culture. And then when you can pick and pull those guys that you need to be able to go do what you need to do, they've done it at a very high level, but small. We only had 7 guys that were from the portal playing in the national championship game, guys, versus Notre Dame that had 9. It's not like a wholesale, portal thing. They're developed here. So when you have a guy that can come in, see the pieces that we have to the puzzle, game plan accordingly, set the foundation, and then be able to adapt week to week while also sharpening all the other coaches to have that mindset of situational football that it's just different, right? That's going to make him better as a football coach. And I also think that this year he got even more confidence in what he wants because you've seen it, man. Like winning national championship, it's like a blood transfusion. It's life-changing in the regards of yourself, how we did it, and what I need to do it again. And if I truly, honestly say, if Ryan Day believes this is exactly what the Ohio State football team needs, it's exactly what the Ohio State football team needs. And guess what? You took care of all your dudes.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get to that next.
Okay.
I don't want you to jump the gun.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to jump it. I'm not going to jump it. I'm wearing the hat today for you.
Because to the third and final point of this, Schlegs, of what I saw in there, and this was the one that got me, like, really, really, when Maximus is slowly pushing the knife down into Commodus and Gladiator,
he's like this. He's like this.
Like, just to see, like, a knife penetrate through a dude's, like, sternum, upper rib cage.
That's where you get them.
The last one was that did James Franklin interview him? And I said, hold on, is this what we're looking at here? That was the final. That was like literally like the final swipe trying to finish it off. I'm like, hold on. I'm not even going to really justify that other than the fact that I don't need my coaches to be wanted by James Franklin because I don't want Ryan Day to be James Franklin. Ryan Day has beaten James Franklin to a pulp. James Franklin was nothing more to do with Ryan. He'd get one more crack at him next year, but they spotted him a 10-point lead at home, and they still couldn't beat him. And so, listen, if you ever want your head coach to be like or be James Franklin, they got 110,000 seats over there, Schlegs. And you know what? They only fill it for most of the time when it's the Bucks or Michigan, or like a huge game. You can get seats over there. You can drive 6 hours from Columbus, Ohio to Happy Valley. But the fact that the final blow, the coup de grace was, did James Franklin interview him before he hired Jim Knowles? Said, wow, okay. So that's where we're going here. Did I interview, I don't know, Schlegs, Ron White as my strength coach before I hired you? I don't know. Ron White's funny, but I don't necessarily want him to be my strength coach. I don't know what he knows about personal fitness. You'd be questioning my aptitude then.
Yeah.
So, Buckeyes,
man. Exhausting. Yeah, and that's the thing, guys. Like, if there's anything we've learned from this, I thought there was a good point. I forgot who made it. I saw it on X. You know, the safe play would have been, we're going to make G and OG co-D coordinators, right? And maybe bring on another assistant, whether it's to help on the back end or, help with Larry, whatever the case may be, right? So somebody could be the floater there. And then how are you going to divvy that up?
Floater, though,
love the floaters. But I think here's the other thing, too. I kind of like it because when you bring somebody else in, and you made the statement that this is your defensive staff, you ain't bringing shit in. You bringing these dogs because of what we've done together. But you also have full autonomy to make sure that they're doing what you're going to do. And it's a different voice. And I guarantee you there were some lessons learned from Knowles in handling the staff and somebody else and what was needed. Because, again, when you're a leader, when you're a CEO, not me, the chief encouraging officer, but a true CEO, chief executive officer, you don't want to deal with like bullshit, man. You are the defensive coordinator. You are the offensive coordinator. Make this thing go. I'm going to have some things in there as to what I like, but you got to get all parties on the table. And at the end of the day, we got to plant the flag and we got to execute for our guys. And so he doesn't want to be middling around, having side convos. You got to do this and this. Like, no, you're running the show, but you got to make it work within these guys and bring them to the table. I don't think he would have made that hire if he didn't think that this guy, Matt Patricia, could be that guy that could get all parties involved as to what we're going to do and how we're going to do it moving forward. It's going to be interesting to see, honestly, in the spring, what stays, right?
Yeah, okay, well, we're going to get to that, Schlegs.
I'm sorry. I just
coming up in the next segment here.
What kind of cracker are you?
We asked AJ. What kind of it's a great question, Schlegs. Maybe a Ritz. Because it's parents, athletes, listen up. Protect what matters most with Export mouthguards, trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. Export mouthguards are scientifically tested to absorb those high-impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. Export mouthguards feature 3 layers of advanced protection, including a patented use of carbon fiber, custom fit to your own unique smile for max performance, better protection, better comfort, clear communication, focus on your game, not on your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Go visit exportguards.com/Bobby and save today 15% on your order. Export, protect what matters most. We're going to break down the dynamics of the defensive staff coming up next. I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool and doesn't taste like... I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American and so can you. Garage beer, beer-flavored beer. Welcome back in the Bobby Carpenter Show and Schlegs. We went along with that first, but I didn't want to get this because it wasn't just the announcement of Matt Patricia, but we also have of how they built the rest of the team. I thought I put something in the chat in the deal about that, Schlegs, that is announcing Matt Patricia as the defensive coordinator, but then also we've got Matt Guerrieri, who we talked about, and you heard Ryan Day wax poetic about at the championship celebration about one of the best and brightest minds upcoming coaching. You may not know him now, but you're going to know him in the future, and talk about that. And then with a Buckeye, thank you, Pat, with the Buckeye and our guy OG Tim Walton, who's been a coordinator in the NFL, coached a long time in the NFL, and has been here at Ohio State as DB's coach now for a couple of seasons, and does a great job relating with players, understands and has been in a variety of schemes, and is a great recruiter. And G's a great recruiter too. And so people are like, well, Matt Patricia, can he recruit? Like, Jim Knowles didn't recruit, you know? So don't worry about it. James is handling the linebackers. And by the way, he's doing a great job. And so just like, since you were been in this, and I want to hear your perspective on, you know, that people are like, well, it sounds like they're going to be doing a lot more of what they already have. But I'm like, you know what? The coaches, it's like they're proud. They've got pride as much as they may not want to admit it. Like, having titles and things allows you to get bumps and pay, but also when you're up for the next jobs and things come open, then it's easier to say like, well, hey, this guy was a co-coordinator here. He was a passing game coordinator here. That was what he was involved with. And they viewed him highly enough to want to keep him, to give him this, which is more money, maybe more responsibility, and all of those things.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, guys, let's think about this. Like, if you're the Ohio State co-defensive coordinator, I mean, anywhere else in the country, you're the coordinator, right? I mean, that's what you're doing. And now G's the passing game coordinator. It bolsters the resume for title's sake. You know, what's really the you're the VP. Like, it's all different, right? Some companies, they just have VP of sales and senior VP of sales, and then they have, you know, an executive, you know, vice president of sales. Well, now you just went from vice president, and you're, you know, one's a senior vice. They're both senior vice presidents in different categories. You know what I'm saying? Like, one's doing sales for this car and one's doing sales for this car. Like, it's the same damn thing. So it just elevates the title. They get a bump in their pay. Everybody's happy. You're doing the exact same thing. You're growing in the profession, right? It's
not
like,
just showers. Like, we know the difference between growers and showers.
Yeah, I do.
You're a grower.
I do. You want to be a grower and a shower, right? Like, that's the unicorn. That's the unicorn, as they say. But here's the thing. When you really think about this, they would stay because they also know that they want to continue to grow and where this could go for them in their future. You know, so I think Ryan, one thing I do know about Ryan, and he's great with having very honest, very transparent conversations with people. We saw that with his players. I have no doubt or anything that would lead me to believe that he doesn't do the exact same with his staff. And so when you go and you have this conversation like, hey, I think it's the betterment for everybody that we brought this guy in. In strength conditioning, you have Mickey Marotti. He is the associate athletic director for sports performance, but he's also the head strength coach for Ohio State football. Then you have two associate strength coaches. They get paid higher. Then you have your assistant strength coach. Like, there's levels to all of this that all allow you to go somewhere else and get an opportunity to make more money, because it's where you start. You know, when you go get that next job, right? It's like, oh, this guy was making $500K here. We're going to bring him over to the coordinator here. Well, we only got to pay him $750. No, but if he's already making $900, it's like, oh no, when he comes over here, we got to pay him 1.4, 1.5, 1.6. Oh, he has second best options to go somewhere else and make that for 1.4. Oh no, we got to bring him back for 1.75. Like, that's how it works. So not only is the title, but it's also the pay, because when you go to the next one, right, it goes based off of that. Just so everybody knows, right? It's like, that's how they're negotiating all these things. So it helps all parties the way this settled out. And I think it will be a great learning experience from what they did this last year and had a lot of success. And again, I remind everybody, there was a lot of flack on our defense. That was the number one defense in the country throughout the entirety of the season about them, and they were phenomenal. Okay, so I like this. I think it's going to be really good. I'm excited to watch it play out. You and I think, have a good feel, Bob, for the coaches that are in the building and what they're going to be able to do. I think what this shows the most is that we are about utilizing all of our weapons, regardless of where they are, because we can run multiple fronts. We can do a lot of different things. It's going to be how much of that foundation can we lay to therefore we can adapt throughout the season to the teams that we play. So, and I think that Walt and G and Larry and James understand the players the best. So when you bring in somebody from an NFL perspective, they have enough say to like, I don't know if that's what we need to do. We whittled it down, did this, played extremely fast and violent. That's where we need to live. Okay, cool. Then this is how we can construct that from a Matt Patricia standpoint.
It is. And what else is unique about this, Schlegs, is if you look at the entirety of the coaching staff on the defensive side now, you have a defensive coordinator who has head coach in the NFL experience, which people can debate how successful he was. He was still hired for one of the 32 most coveted jobs, in
all of football.
Yeah. So you got that. Someone thought you were good enough to get it at one point. And so someone else made the point about this, like, who else has had success in Detroit outside of Dan Campbell? And it's like, well, you're pretty right with that. But he's got a lot of experience. He's won a couple Super Bowls as a DC. You have Tim Walton, who has a bevy of NFL experience as a DB's coach and was a coordinator as well at the NFL, and now is a Buckeye, by the way, which I'm not going to undersell that. Matt Guerrieri, who's a very, very bright young guy from outside of Cleveland, Ohio, so another guy from in-state who has been with Jim Knowles and understands this Jim Knowles defense and everything there, and like pretty smart. And so I'm curious how they're going to try to blend those and meld this stuff together. And that'll be a conversation we'll have to figure out here as we have some more time to kind of dive in, and I can get back to Ohio State and Columbus. James Laurinaitis, NFL player for a decade, played at Ohio State, highly talented recruiter, younger guy as well. And then you've got Larry Johnson, who has won a couple national titles, has coached for 40 plus years, developed a ton of NFL guys, and it kind of balances and offsets you. And Matt Patricia, by the way, is 50. I couldn't believe that because I still look at him like he's like 35 when he was my OC and younger than me. And I was like, gosh, he's 50 now. So he is like a more experienced dude. And so it's important to have the variety within the staff. You don't want a bunch of old dudes. You don't want a bunch of young guys. You don't want guys all from here. You want guys from different perspectives, different backgrounds, different coaching schematics, and so systems. So when they come together, you can kind of pull and build the best parts of everything together. I think that's vitally important. That's something that a lot of people overlook. All right, we're going to get a little bit more into that here and some other stuff, Schlegs, because we got a bevy of information to continue to get through. We've got some portal news for you. Some good news for the Buckeyes, Schlegs. What in the Sam Dick is coming.
Sam William Dixon.
We'll figure out what's going on with that here coming up next. I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like. I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer. All right, welcome back in the Bobby Carpenter Show, and we have got some Portal Combat, Schlegs, with our guy Sam Williams Dixon, Ohio guy, started out Eastern Ohio, finished up at Pickerington, looked pretty good in the spring. I understand you look around, they bring in a portal running back from West Virginia, and you're like, Peoples was so highly recruited, and you're trying to figure out like where's your Where's your place? Where's your spot? But you did lose 2,000-yard backs. So I think there's going to be room for guys to be able to get in where they fit in. And they're going to play the best dudes regardless anyway. But we can throw that up there, Pat. Sam Williams-Dixon was in the portal and decided that he ultimately is going to withdraw his name from the portal and return to Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, hey, guys, listen, man, the portal is not a bad thing. Like, you can go out and see if there's greener pastures, or you can stay. And you know, this goes back to where I like the 2-year commitment, because then nobody's going in. It's not even in your bandwidth to think that I could go somewhere else, because I just got to continue to develop. Because there's lessons in the development, man. There's a great thing from A.J. Brown talking about, you know, reflecting on the Super Bowl. And yeah, winning championships are great, but what he cherishes the most is the journey and the restart every single year to try to just go dominate people. Like, I just live to dominate the people, you know, that I go against, as opposed to winning it. Because when you do dominate people, guess what? Then you go win things. Like, that's what it is. But it's that mindset. That's what gives him his edge. And it was cool. It was kind of refreshing to see. But with these young 18 to 20-year-olds, like, having that first 2 year where you're already in, and it's not even in your bandwidth to go, is what I like. I'm happy that Sam's coming back. I think that Sam does need some more development, and I'm excited to see what happens. Just because you bring in a veteran back from West Virginia doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to be the back. You know, it's competitive excellence all the time. And so guess what? Go freaking take it. That's the mentality. That's the mindset that you want from all the guys. Like, you're not right. That's what I talked about with the defensive line. Yeah, they're ready. Okay, who says that they're ready? No, they need it all season, man. They need more. They need more readiness, right? Because it's a different mindset when you are the alpha now. So good for him coming back.
He got Pat's got that A.J. Brown post he's going to throw up there, because I saw that, Schlegs, and everybody always talks about, like, when you win, do you feel different? And, like, you're a champion forever. And we've heard the Buckeyes talk about this. But it's really like a validation of the journey.
Yes, sir.
You know, like, the journey is where it is. And it was a great quote that I saw on this. And people always ask, you know, is it the journey or the destination? And everyone will tell you, well, it's always the journey. It's the journey. The destination is the end result. But the stories, what happens on the journey, that's what makes you. And I heard an iteration of this that took it a step further. It's not the journey nor the destination, Slikes. It's who you become along the journey is what's really important.
Yeah.
And, like, the metamorphosis and the changes that go on within you. And so, like, A.J. Brown was seeing that. Like, when you get done, you don't feel like fundamentally different. It's not like you are a Marvel superhero now. Like, you're not Spider-Man. Like, you can't climb a wall, or you're not Thor and fly around. Like, you don't have any other superpowers. It's just the fact that you've grinded and you were able to outgrind everybody else. And it's like, and that's it. Like, you were just simply able to outgrind everybody else and outlast everyone else. And so that's it. And so, like, you sit there and you act like there's going to be something that changes in you, and there's not. Like, you're not fundamentally different. You're a champion forever, but it doesn't. The only way, like, you feel justified in that is, like, let me go back out and see if I can earn it again.
Yeah.
Like, now I know the pathway, and I know that it's achievable. I know that it's possible, but let's lean into that path and see if we can get it one more time. And so that's
100%.
That's it. It's interesting. You know, I saw this in our guy, Lathan Ransom, who we have on every week, or just about every week. Hopefully he gets some better.
Are you going there? Are you going to put that one up? Because it's amazing.
Yeah, because it's pretty great. Talking about knowing the script and what it's going to take. And I mean, this is directly out of the straight from the horse's mouth, if you will, Schlegs. Lathan Ransom talking to the team, you know, after practice. Pat, if we want to get that, we'll toss that up, about what the formula was going to be, what the recipe for success was going to be for this Buckeye team.
I'm gonna tell y'all what's gonna go. We're gonna beat the brakes off Tennessee. We're gonna beat the brakes off Oregon. Then we're gonna run through the SEC. And then what they gonna say about us, bro? What they gonna say about the team? They're going to say we the best college football team that ever played. Start acting like it. What we done?
Ooh, Lathan gets me hyped up.
He does, because he's so serious about it. And those guys knew, like, hey, we beat Oregon. We got some momentum. We go beat the brakes off Texas, and we go run through the rest of beat the brakes off Oregon. Then we go run through the SEC. And I think they probably thought it was going to be Texas and Georgia. Didn't even anticipate Notre Dame being there. And so it's like, let's go, let's cowboy up. And like, you have to have that vision of understanding what it could potentially be.
Yeah.
And like preparing and embracing. You want to stay, it's an interesting paradigm, Schlegs, if you will, to try to stay in the immediacy of the moment, but also understand that it's going to be a long journey.
Yeah.
And be able to brace yourself for that as you continue to walk it.
Bob, I saw a thing on X, and it was like, we're seeing all these like college programs doing like hard things. And I actually got a thing from Josh Fryer because he had his birthday the other day. I was like, happy birthday, bro. And it's like, thanks, Coach Schlegs. You made me a better man, Waffle House ready. And again, what is the validation like from a coaching perspective and also a guy perspective? Like it validates that the work works, right? And Coach Mick, I firmly believe this from him, and I learned this from him. And it's you have an effort muscle, you have a toughness muscle, you have a competitive excellence muscle. And as much as we want to say, man, it's a game of power and acceleration and change direction and all these other things, like you also have to train those muscles because you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds that don't get that type of testing all the time outside of full contact practices where you could feel uncomfortable because as a society, it's all about the comfort. And so you have to train that. And that's why it's important. And when you look at A.J. Brown and like that quote from, I think that you and I embody this, Bob, as you get out of sports, how do you saturate yourself with continually to try to be the best version of yourself is you put yourself in adverse situations to see how you can manage. Like I constantly try to test my mettle all the time, whether that's in the weight room or whether that's in business or going back and helping out Ohio State to see if I got it right after having been let go in the NFL. It's a real thing, but I never want to change about that because I want to make these guys better. So guess what? I need to continue to get better so I can serve people to make them better. And that's what we all love about it, man. I remember like us in 6 a.m. workouts with Tress. Like I still remember those things, right? The mat drills. When you just honestly, guys, it's one of the most special things of being a coach. There's one terrible thing about being a coach, and that is when you see a player get hurt and you see all the work that went into it and then something happens to him. It is probably one of the most terrible feelings that you could ever have as a coach. The greatest feeling that you have as a coach is when I call it tripping. When you see somebody trip, the light bulb switched, right? They got turned on and they tripped and they just became that alpha that you knew was in there. Like that's one of the greatest things to see. Some people flip that switch faster than others, but it's regardless, it's seeing it in light, like in real color, them make that leap. Like that's the best part about it, but you got to create the friction in there to pull that out, to extrapolate that greatness that's within. So anyway, it's very cool. Now we're on a tangent. I don't even know where we're going.
That's all right, because we got our headlines coming up next. I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like. I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer. There are two little nugget Schlegs that I found here with John Gordon this morning as I got back from doing some early spear fishing. I got up at like 5:50 today to go out and do some spear fishing out there, get some conch shells, and We're going to go catch some lobsters here later today, Schlegs. Just straight up dive down and bare hand them out of the caves. Pretty excited about that. So it should be a good time. You would have loved it doing some fishing last night. Things weren't really moving. We'll talk about it later. You might be a guy. We can come down here. I think I've got a pathway first to get back down here, and they've got some great fishing, by the way. But I want to throw up the first time that John Madden quote that John Gordon put up. I saw these two little nuggets, these two quotes come up. They're reposted by John Gordon, and this is amazing, and it's very applicable. John Madden said, winning is a great deodorant. It covers up what stinks about your team. Great teams have a positive discontent. Even when they're expecting success, they still look for ways they can improve and are always striving to get better. And this Ohio State team isn't perfect, and you always have to be looking for ways to improve. And how do you press, as my guy Ryan Hawk said, AJ, or Schlegs, the brother of AJ, he called it with his Learning Leaders show, one of the guys he interviewed, called pressing the edges. You've got to keep pressing the edges to keep expanding ground. And so I think this Matt Patricia hire, may have been a little out of the box and it may be a little uncomfortable, which I think is good. I think it fits, but on its face, it's like playing a game of Tetris. It wasn't just like, oh, there's a 4x4 block. It goes in here. There was some maneuvering that had to be done to kind of see how it was going to work.
Man, I don't even want to expound on that because I think it goes into your next one, Bob. Go ahead and go to the next quote.
Yeah, and then the next one that also popped up there from John Gordon, which is another really good quote that, I saw. Like I said, these were like back-to-back for me coming at me. I'm like, I'm throwing these in here. The best leaders aren't waiting for change. They create it.
Yeah.
And I'll let you take that one, sir.
Well, here's, you talked about, pressing the edges, and Brian Peters, who we know, he talks about chasing edges, and Marcus Luttrell came and spoke to the team years ago.
Yeah.
And he talked about going to the edge, right? Like, go as hard as you possibly can over the edge. Like, go so hard that you're going to go off the edge. And it's your job as the coach to grab them right before they go off the edge. Wait, we got to press. We got to press you. We got to press. We got to press. Like, that's where your max capacity comes out. And I think that one with, leaders aren't waiting for change. They're creating it. That goes into sense of urgency of what Ohio State football is, right? We talked earlier, I think it was with Ari, about what is good for Ohio State. What's good for Ohio State is a repeat national championship. And let's not mistake that. That is what it is. So if you're constantly chasing that edge, you're constantly thinking about how can I improve 0.01% better. I saw Corey G post that the other day. Again, that's the theory of marginal gains, people. It's like every single day, how do I do this? Some days it might be this, some days it might be like that. How do I chase that? How do I put myself in those situations? How do I get up for that every single day? Who do I surround myself with? And when I look at this kind of hire, like you said, Bob, outside the box, not safe at all. Not safe. Some people are like, it's like one of those, boomer bust type hires. But you know what, though? When you're trying to create change and you're chasing a freaking 1% of 1%, those are the type of moves that you got to make. And you got to be, unequivocally excited about it when you plant the flag and you go. That's how I look at it.
I like that, Schlegs. We got our headlines. All right, check. That's it for our headlines. We got our tailgate talk brought to you by Real Truck coming up next, where we're going to dive into a little bit of that and maybe what changed with Ohio State defense and some thoughts from one of our other favorite Buckeye defensive backs coming up next.
Get the most out of work, life, and all your outdoor adventures with top-selling upgrades for your truck. Guaranteed fit, free shipping, easy install, expert support, and thousands of dealers just a click away. Bring your truck to life. Real Truck. Upgrade today and save between $50 and $400 on select Real Truck products. Visit realtruck.com/specials.
We got our tailgate talk brought to you by our friends over at Real Truck. And Schlegs, you want to outfit your truck and make it sweet? You're going to probably get some cool stuff right there. You get your sweet Real Truck hat, but bring your truck to life at realtruck.com. From bed covers to Jeep tops to seat covers, they've got you covered. They've got everything you need to make your truck, Jeep, Bronco, looking nice. Super easy. You go there in the search bar, Schlegs, you type in the make and model of your vehicle, boom. It gives you all the stuff that you can buy and how to assemble it. I've got tons of stuff, and I really can't wait till about April when I can take my Jeep back out again and start exploring the winch and everything else that we got. Maybe just tie the winch to your truck, Schlegs, and pull it out of the armory and just drag it around. I don't know. But go check them out at
We'll do some crazy stuff, Bob. Let's go.
Yeah. Go check them out at realtruck.com. You spend $100, you get free shipping, which is the best little gift to you. All right. Here's a little nugget coming from RKA91 Schlegs. Said Burke said on another podcast, which I don't know while we're listening to other podcasts, but there's some other stuff out there. It's all right. Last night, that what changed after the Oregon was they simplified the defense. They had too many plays in. Guys didn't know what to do, couldn't play as fast. Hopefully Patricia doesn't bring so many different plays week to week like you guys are talking about. Thank you, guys. I think it's a good comment. Here's the thing. You can outsmart yourself. Even if you have smart guys and they know what to do, you get so many things in there, Schlegs, that it inhibits you from playing fast. You let perfect. What is your patent? Your a good plan executed.
A good plan executed violently today is better than a perfect plan executed next week.
And that's the thing. You can try to get caught up in the perfection of your plan and be like, oh, they do this, they do that. Well, then Oregon starts to motion, it starts changing stuff, and it makes your guys, it puts them at a disadvantage because they have a hard time getting the position to be able to do it. And so, like Matt Patricia, you go look. I tell everybody, go back and watch 12 to 17. They played years with single high when they had guys to be able to do that. They had years where they played too deep. There are years they blitz, sometimes where they blitz more, sometimes where they didn't blitz very much at all. Like, it's what your players can handle. It's what they're best at. And you try to blend that all together and smooth shit together.
Yeah. And I think too, Bob, it's like they came off of that. Denzel said that. And you also got to remember they're doing that with, 7, 8 dudes that are going to the NFL. Right. So It's like, what do you do then this year when you have 3 returning? You know what I'm saying? And that's where it goes at. Like, what is our identity? What is the foundation of what we do defensively? And then you can build off of that. But the number one thing at the college level, we've said it numerous times. It's not about the X's and O's. It's about the Jimmys and Joes, and you got to let the Jimmys and Joes play fast, hard, and violent. And again, when Matt coming in now, you also have 4 coaches that have been there, done that, seen that, and kind of know what their guys' aptitude is as we put these things in. The hardest thing that you can do in defense is allow for there to be gray. And when you can eliminate as much gray as you possibly can, all it does is enhance the communication. And the communication what allows you to play really fast, violent defense.
Absolutely. All right, coming up next, we got 30 seconds for Schlegs' parting thought on the Bobby Carpenter Show. I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like. I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer. Floor is yours, sir. 30 seconds.
Oh, man, I don't even know what to say today, but I'll say this. Kudos to my assistant, Danielle, down in Round Town. Got to get my truck fixed. Got my wife in town for her anniversary. Got Nate Ebner's wedding. I left today. I started the car for her, and I left my backpack, And you're like, how the hell, Bob, this is what a Bob comment. How the hell do you leave your backpack? So I don't know, but I left it. But you know what, though? I got great people around me. I'm like, hey, we got the Bobby Carpenter Show. Everybody put together. I got on early. We prepared with Pat. That thing didn't work. This thing didn't work. Danielle, I need the computer. Saddle up. Adjust with poise. That's what you got to do every single day, and that's what we did today for this show. Buckeyes, and I appreciate everybody.
And shout out to my daughter for grinding with you, Schlag. You said she's doing a great job. We'll get into that more here on our next show. That's it today for the Bobby Carpenter Show.